Major news coming out of Washington to that finally much needed money in Americans' pockets. We'll give you a basic walkthrough of what this new $900 billion coronavirus relief bill includes. President Trump signed this into law late last night. What it does is it gives a one-time direct check of $600 to any American making less than $75,000 a year. What it also does is it enhances the federal unemployment benefits as well as more funding for.
Because the GOP plan would also use a one-time money for rebate of $1,200 for individuals and $2,500 for joint filers. That's around $12,100. Now, Republicans announced their plan a day after the state budget officials released an updated forecast, showing that the surplus remains stable, with higher than expected revenues nearly offsetting a new law requiring that inflation be factored into spending projections. But now, Minority Leader Mark Johnson said at a news conference that the surplus provides a historic opportunity to return the money to the taxpayers. Republicans want deeper cuts than Democratic Governor Tim Walz, and Democratic legislative leaders have opposed that and will return more of the surplus to taxpayers instead of spending it on education and other programs. That's as many as Democrats want it. But while Republicans don't have the votes to pass their plan as is, they still have leverage they could use to try to get some of what they want. It's because a law on both sides want to pass a public infrastructure borrowing package known as a bonding bill. But raising the state's debt load requires 60% of supermajorities in both the House and Senate. That will require several Republican GOP members to even do something about that. Here is the important news on the fourth stimulus check. More relief households could actually be getting stimulus. More people could be getting stimulus in their bank. Because Americans are now losing extra monthly benefits, but it's not stopping Joe Biden. Because when it comes to food inflation, certain foods have for months been dominating the conversation. Eggs are one food that has been constantly in the headlines. Eggs are in fact the common grocery category that saw the steepest jump in price. At the end of the year, their price was 32% higher than it was a year ago. Numbers from the CPI index show that overall grocery prices were up 11% annually in January, while eating out is 8.2% more expensive. The next biggest increase came in the fats and oils category. The overall price of items like butter, margarine, and common cooking oils rose 20%. That's between the end of 2021 and 2022. Historically, this category went up by an average of 3% a year, going back to 2002. Meat was a mixed bag because some types, such as beef and veal, rose by only 5.3%. Meaning poultry like chicken and turkey is a whopping 14.6% more expensive, while pork is up by 8%. Dairy products, excluding fats like butter, rose by 12%, while fresh fruits and vegetables are up by a respective 7% as well. So amid the rising energy costs, wheat has also been a subject particularly prone to inflation. Bread, cereals, baked goods rose by 13% from a year ago. Cereals and other bakery products had a percentage change of 13%. And it's due to the rising cost of ingredients required to make them as well as other production costs. But the numbers will obviously differ, depending on specific products, geographical location, and individual store, but the upward tendency paints a narrowing trend. If the average increases we see every month have been trending lower, it's not good. But shoppers will definitely see less than this, everybody, because, according to Yahoo News, a proposed bill in the legislature would actually allow more people in Nebraska to continue receiving SNAP benefits. Now, before 2021, families had to make sure to get 100% of the federal poverty level to qualify.
$600 stimulus checks are going out, and the money could be showing up soon in your bank account. Brian Malahy asking questions about how this money is going to impact people in Utah. And Brian, you talked to some people today. What are they saying about this stimulus money?
One in particular who said it's helpful, it's better than nothing, but it doesn't appear to be having a great effect in terms of victory laps over $600. We're outside Anna's.
A concoction that came from the Koch brothers and Pete Peterson and other billionaires, and they are arguing that the COLAs that seniors get are too generous. Honest to God, when I say this in Vermont, people start laughing. That's what they do. And I say there are some people in Washington who think the COLAs that you have gotten in recent years are too generous, and people break out in laughter. And right now, as all of you know, I think it was just an announcement today, that the COLA this year is 1.5%. That is clearly much, much too generous. Now, what all of us understand, that yeah, we do have to take a hard look at how we determine what COLAs are, but not do it the way that the billionaires want us to do by cutting back on Social Security benefits. The way we are going to do it is to segregate the purchases that seniors make from the general population because they are very different. The truth is, if you're a 20-year-old young person and you're out buying a computer today, the likelihood is that computer is less expensive today than it was last year. That's true. Most 80-year-old seniors who are struggling to pay their bills are not buying computers. What are they buying? They're buying medicine. They're buying health care. If they live in Vermont, they're going to have to heat.
Generations. It is officially called the SFC Heath Robinson Honoring Our Pact Act because Heath Robinson was one of the many who succumbed to the poisons of toxins that he was exposed to fighting for America. For too long, our nation's veterans have faced an absurd indignity. They enlisted to serve our country, went abroad in good health, and came back only to get sick.
Now, the IRS made a new announcement. Millions of people can expect to see many changes to tax refunds this year. Another group of lawmakers in Congress have proposed monthly checks to help the people that are in need of stimulus cash. Not only that, everybody, but listen to this. Mark Stepner, the Chief Tax Information Officer, has told Fox News that tax law changes can be made anytime during the year, and we've seen in recent years that they can be retroactive. Currently, the millions of people are still waiting for the tax refunds to arrive, which could be worth thousands of dollars. So a recent report from the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration found 9 million returns are still waiting to be processed. The Treasury Inspector for Tax Administration report attributed the backlog of substantial hiring shortfalls as the IRS, and while the IRS made efforts to increase and address the staffing needs, its productivity levels just don't match up. According to a recent analysis, the IRS will continue to have backlog in the 2023 filing season. During that week, ending October 28th, the average tax refund was already $3,200. Yes, folks, $3,200, and now. Meanwhile, amended returns can take more than 20 weeks to process currently, up from the typical 16. But people who file electronically are much more likely to get their returns quicker. However, the IRS is warning that your return next year might be a little bit smaller. It's due to several factors, including how the child tax credit has expired, and the earned income credit is also programmed, which will help you to moderate the income workers and families receive a tax break. If you qualified for the earned income tax credit, then you can use the credit to reduce the amount of tax you owe. Because according to the IRS, if you claim the earned income tax credit, then you can expect a refund to be paid to you by March 1st. The IRS already adjusts the thresholds that applies to the various income levels and tax brackets to account for inflation. But, and with a nearly 4-decade high, the change will become more noticeable in 2023. So there's a brief possibility that taxpayers could change tax brackets next year because of this, meaning more people have to pay more things. But on top of these changes, lawmakers are pushing for an expansion of the child tax credit and to send out more stimulus payments in 2023.
The financial conditions that we have in our country and the responsibility that we have as lawmakers. This inflation is real. It's harming people. It's 7.5%. That's a tax. And it continues to increase. It's not decreasing. So the feds have to step up to the plate and do something. The administration has to do. We all have to work together right now to get our financial house in order. If not, it's going to be absolutely horrible what it's going to do to the American economy.
So it has been approved, everybody. President Biden is moving forward with new legislation